The studio lights were blazing. Cameras rolled silently across the polished floor of the set of The View. The audience had already settled into their seats, buzzing with anticipation. Today's guest wasn't just another Hollywood name dropping by to promote a film. It was Ryan Reynolds. And whenever Ryan Reynolds stepped onto a stage, something unpredictable usually followed. But no one in that room, not even the producers watching nervously behind the cameras, expected the moment that would soon explode across social media. The theme music faded. The hosts took their seats. Among them was the legendary and sharp-tongued Whoopi Goldberg, a woman known for decades of fearless commentary and unforgettable television moments. From her Oscar-winning performance in Ghost to her commanding presence in The Color Purple, Whoopi had built a career on saying exactly what she believed. And today she looked ready. The audience erupted into applause as Ryan walked onto the stage. He smiled that familiar sarcastic smile, the one fans knew from his role as Deadpool in Deadpool. But beneath the humor, something felt different. Something tense. Ryan Reynolds, Whoopi announced, clapping as he sat down. Hollywood's most charming troublemaker. Ryan laughed lightly. I've been called worse. The audience chuckled. But the mood changed quickly. Before the conversation could drift into the usual friendly promotion of Ryan's latest projects, including his upcoming work following Deadpool and Wolverine, Whoopi leaned forward slightly. You've had quite a career, she said. But some people say your success is built more on sarcasm than substance. The audience murmured. Ryan blinked. Not offended, just surprised. For a split second, the room held its breath. Wow, Ryan said slowly. We're starting spicy today. The audience laughed nervously. Whoopi didn't smile. I'm serious, she replied. You're funny, sure. But comedy can be a shield. Sometimes it keeps people from seeing who you really are. Ryan tilted his head. That famous quick wit of his flickered behind his eyes. You mean the Canadian behind the sarcasm? He joked. But Whoopi continued. You've been in Hollywood for over 20 years. You've done action, comedy, drama, but people still mostly remember the jokes. The air tightened. Ryan leaned back slightly in his chair. Then he smiled again, but this time it wasn't just playful. It was strategic. Let me guess, he said. You're about to say Deadpool ruined cinema. The audience burst into laughter. Whoopi raised an eyebrow. Not ruined, she replied, but maybe distracted. Ryan chuckled, and the tension grew. But before the conversation went further, quick pause. If you're already feeling the tension building in this moment, make sure you subscribe to Talk Battles, hit that like button, and drop a comment below about which celebrity clash shocked you the most. Because what happened next on this stage, no one saw coming. Ryan leaned forward. You know, he said calmly, I actually grew up watching you. Whoopi nodded politely. Ryan continued. My mom loved The Color Purple. She cried every time. For a moment, the room softened. Then Ryan added, but she also told me something interesting. Whoopi's eyes narrowed slightly. What's that? Ryan smiled. She said the best performers know when they're acting and when they're judging. The audience gasped softly. The energy in the studio shifted instantly. Was that a comeback? Whoopi paused, then laughed quietly. Oh, you're quick. Ryan shrugged. I play a superhero who breaks the fourth wall. Quick is part of the job. The audience erupted. But Whoopi wasn't done. Tell me something, she said. Behind all the jokes, who is Ryan Reynolds really? For the first time, Ryan's tone softened. Well, he's a kid from Vancouver who never thought he'd make it here. He talked about starting his career in small television roles, about rejection, about the uncertainty of early Hollywood. He even mentioned meeting his wife, actress Blake Lively, calling her the person who reminds me not to take any of this too seriously. The audience smiled. But then Whoopi asked the question that changed everything. Do you ever worry people laugh at you instead of with you? The room went silent. Ryan blinked. And for the first time that day, the smile faded. The confrontation had begun. And it was about to escalate in ways no one expected. Ryan sat quietly for a moment. The studio lights reflected off the polished table as the tension thickened in the air. The audience watched carefully. It was no longer just a celebrity interview. It was a duel of personalities. Ryan finally leaned forward again. You know, he said slowly, I actually worried about that a lot earlier in my career. Whoopi nodded slightly, waiting. When I first came to Hollywood, Ryan continued, I wasn't the action guy. I wasn't the dramatic actor. I was the guy people thought was funny. He paused. And sometimes Hollywood treats funny like it's not serious. Whoopi raised an eyebrow. Because sometimes it isn't. The audience reacted immediately. Ryan chuckled. See, that's exactly the reputation I had to fight. He talked about the struggles behind his early films, about the pressure after Green Lantern failed critically. Trust me, Ryan said. Nothing builds humility faster than reading those reviews. The audience laughed. Even Whoopi cracked a small smile. But the tension wasn't gone. You reinvented yourself, Whoopi admitted. Ryan nodded. I did. And then he told the story many fans loved. How he fought for years to make Deadpool happen. How studios didn't believe an R-rated superhero comedy would work. How he pushed anyway. Sometimes the biggest risk, Ryan said, is betting on something no one else understands yet. Whoopi leaned back in her chair. That's Hollywood. Ryan smirked. That's life. The audience applauded softly. But Whoopi wasn't ready to let the moment settle. Yet critics say you hide behind sarcasm when conversations get serious. Ryan tilted his head again. You mean like right now? The crowd laughed again. Whoopi looked straight at him. No, I mean when people challenge you. Ryan paused. Then he slowly nodded. Fair point. The room quieted. You want the honest answer? Ryan said. Whoopi gestured for him to continue. Ryan took a breath. I use humor because it saved me. The audience leaned forward. I struggled with anxiety growing up, he said. Bad anxiety. He explained how comedy became a way to cope with fear, pressure, and the chaos of fame. Humor is armor, he admitted. For a brief moment, Whoopi looked genuinely thoughtful. But then she said something that lit the spark again. Armor can also hide weakness. The audience gasped. Ryan laughed softly. You really came for blood today, didn't you? Whoopi shrugged. I came for honesty. Ryan looked directly at her. Then here's honesty. The room fell completely silent. You built your career challenging people, he said calmly. You made audiences uncomfortable. You pushed conversations others avoided. Whoopi nodded slowly. That's true. Ryan leaned forward slightly. And that's exactly why people respect you. The audience applauded again. But then Ryan delivered the line that would soon go viral. But if we're talking about armor, he smiled. Talk show hosts sometimes wear it too. The studio exploded with shocked reactions. Whoopi froze for a second. Ryan continued gently. You ask tough questions, but sometimes it's easier asking them than answering them. The tension was now electric. The audience knew they were witnessing something rare. A guest challenging the host. And the clash was far from over. The silence lasted only a few seconds. But inside the studio, it felt like minutes. Whoopi slowly leaned forward again. You think I hide behind this desk? Ryan shrugged playfully. I think everybody hides behind something. The audience reacted with another wave of murmurs. Whoopi crossed her arms. You're good, she admitted. But don't confuse clever answers with deep ones. Ryan smiled again. Fair enough. But his voice grew calmer. More reflective. You asked who Ryan Reynolds really is. Whoopi nodded. Ryan took a breath. I'm a dad. The audience softened immediately. He talked about raising his children with Blake Lively, about trying to keep them grounded despite global fame. Kids don't care about box office numbers, he joked. They just want snacks. The audience laughed warmly. Ryan also spoke about his business ventures, his surprising success as an entrepreneur. From investing in companies to launching creative projects outside film. For me, Ryan said, life got bigger than just acting. Whoopi listened carefully. Then she asked quietly, do you ever worry the fame will swallow all of that? Ryan paused. Every day. The honesty in his voice changed the mood. For the first time, the confrontation felt human, not combative. Whoopi nodded slowly. I understand that. She spoke about her own journey, from stand-up comedy clubs to becoming one of the most recognizable voices on television. There were years people told me I didn't belong in Hollywood, she said. Ryan nodded respectfully. But you proved them wrong. Whoopi smiled faintly. Eventually, the audience applauded. For a moment, the tension dissolved. But then Ryan leaned back with a mischievous grin. But I still think you came after me a little harder than necessary today. The audience burst out laughing. Whoopi pointed at him. Because I knew you could handle it. Ryan laughed. So this was a test? Whoopi shrugged. Let's call it entertainment. Ryan shook his head. You nearly gave my publicist a heart attack. The audience roared. The energy in the room transformed completely. The clash had turned into chemistry. But neither of them realized. The internet would soon take only a few seconds of this exchange and turn it into a viral storm. The time the interview wrapped up, the audience was on its feet. Some applauding, some still whispering about what they had just seen. Ryan stood up, shaking hands with the hosts. Whoopi smiled. "See," she said. "You survived." Ryan laughed. "Barely." The crowd cheered again. But the real explosion happened hours later. Clips from the interview began spreading across social media. One moment in particular. Ryan saying, "Talk show hosts sometimes wear armor too." Within hours, the video had millions of views. Fans debated fiercely online. Some praised Ryan's confidence. Others defended Whoopi's tough interviewing style. Entertainment outlets started covering the moment. Headlines called it the most unexpected clash on The View this year. But interestingly, neither Ryan nor Whoopi fueled the drama afterward. In fact, Ryan posted a playful message online thanking the hosts for the conversation. And Whoopi addressed the moment the next day with a simple comment. That's what real conversations look like. The audience applauded again. Because in the end, it wasn't a fight. It was two powerful personalities testing each other. And reminding everyone watching that real dialogue isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's sharp. Sometimes it's intense. But sometimes it becomes unforgettable television. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Ryan Reynolds' comeback was justified? Or do you think Whoopi Goldberg was right to challenge him? Drop your opinion in the comments below. And if you love dramatic celebrity stories like this, make sure you subscribe to Talk Battles, hit like, and turn on notifications for more explosive Hollywood moments.